Hi, I'm Gary West, and welcome to Kentucky Sports Legends. Today we meet one of the all-time greatest two-sport stars ever to come out of the state of Kentucky, Central City's Raymond Corky Withrow. Corky was born in 1937 in High Cole, West Virginia, and at a young age his family settled in the coal mining town of Central City, located in Muhlenberg County in western Kentucky. From 1952 through 1956, Corky played both baseball and basketball for the Golden Tide, guiding his team to the state tournaments in both sports. His basketball team went to the state tournament in Lexington 3 consecutive years, and Corky led them in both scoring and rebounding. By the time Corky's high school career was over, he had become a 3-time All-Stater and was recognized as one of the best prep players in the nation. Named to several All-American teams that included both Street and Smith and Dale magazines, he played with and against the likes of Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, and King Kelly Coleman. Being heavily recruited out of high school, Corky accepted a scholarship from Adolph Rupp and the University of Kentucky. However, after signing a professional baseball contract with the old Milwaukee Braves, regulations would not allow him to play any sport at an NCAA-sanctioned college. Corky wound up playing 2 years at Georgetown College in Georgetown, Kentucky, where he was the Conference Player of the Year both years while averaging 25 points a game. In 1959, the Philadelphia 76ers of the National Basketball Association drafted Corky in the 4th round. Injuries, however, forced him to give up basketball. Deciding to concentrate on baseball, Corky enjoyed a 10-year professional career in the Braves and St. Louis Cardinal organization. It was with St. Louis in 1963 that he played alongside of players like Stan Musial and Bob Gibson. Whether it's baseball or basketball, Corky Withrow has truly earned the right to be a Kentucky sports legend. I'm Gary West. Thanks for watching.
But I'm Charlie Thurman, and we're here today with Corky Withrow, who is one of the legends of Central City and Kentucky. Delighted that you took some time to visit with us, Corky, and want to spend a little time with you. We also have David James here. He's a Central City boy and a pretty fair ball player himself. If you don't believe, we'll just ask David in a minute. So, but anyway, we're going to start this off, and we're just going to have a little fun here. First off, Corky, kind of going back and looking at your history, I believe you were born in West Virginia and moved here. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background and growing up in Central City, and just give us a little of your history.
Well, that's correct. I was born in High Cole, West Virginia. One road in, one road out. It was a coal mining town, and I think I was 4 years old, 5 years old maybe, when we moved to Central City. We moved in the house that I lived in from the time we moved here till basically, Mom and Dad sold the house a couple of years ago. So they lived in 64 years, one home in Central City. And my second thought was, when I got old enough to see Central City play, I thought if I could ever put on the black and gold of Central City, that it'd probably be the apex of my life. My two favorite players were Joe McHoward and Bobby Nalsinger. Not that my playing style was anywhere close to theirs, but their demeanor, that's what I wanted. You know, just get out there and play and have fun, and that's what I wanted to do. And thank God that I had a little bit of talent and a whole lot of work from Delmskish, and I did wear the black and gold.
When you were in the 6th grade or something, you were the 56th man on the B team, is that?
Yeah, well, I think I was 45th. And the first 15 or 20 players actually had uniforms, the shirt and then the little slip over. But the last 20 of us had to wear white T-shirts. And we came out of the dressing room. It took us 15 minutes to file out of the dressing room. There were so many players. Delvis Gish, that's what he wanted. He wanted not only to have a good basketball team this year, but he wanted a good team next year and the next year. And I think the first playing time I ever had, David, was we were playing Drakesboro. I was on, the B team game. He actually let me play. He got 17 points in the 4th quarter. And I thought, the world has got to come to the end because this is the greatest thing that could happen to a ball player.
Your status, did you move up the depth chart?
I believe it did. I went on up there to about 25th. From there.
20 spots.
Yeah.
One game.
Well, one of the things, it's apparent to me when I walk into this beautiful gymnasium, museum that you have here, and trophies completely fill this place. 18 trips to the state tournament. That's in basketball. That's not counting baseball, volleyball, all the other sports you had. Obviously, from a long time back, and you were just saying this, sports was important. And they started training the kids as early as they could. They didn't wait till they got in high school to start getting ready. By the time you was in the 7th grade, you were already playing, getting prepared to play high school.
We used to go, I was in grade school, 5th, 6th grade, and we would come to the basketball games. It cost 25 cents to get in over here at the old gym. You know, this to me was, I've got God, family, and black and gold. You know, that's the way it went in my life, and that's, and I thought if ever I had the opportunity to get out on the basketball court with the varsity, I might as well die because that's as good as it gets.
You've had a tremendous history of in sports, not only basketball, but tell me a little bit about your coach, Coach Gish.
Coach Gish was a man's man, okay? You admired him. He was a disciplinarian, and he very seldom ever even laughed, but he had a sense of humor. But when you got on this basketball court, it was all business with him. He was a Christian man. We had a team pretty well beat. He played the subs, and those were the guys that were going to play next year. And I admired him for that. And he was one of the finest men I've ever been around. And I'll always remember him as being my coach and one of my favorite people in my lifetime. He helped me a lot.
This is the ExxonMobil West and West show. And Gary, you wrote a book on King Kelly Coleman, who was considered, what'd you call him?
Well, I consider him the greatest legend that ever played basketball in the state of Kentucky. The greatest legend and a heck of a player.
But you get down to Western Kentucky, there's another legend, and he's here today. Corky Withrow.
No question about it. And I devoted an entire chapter on that one game that Kelly and his Wayland team went down to Central City and played against Corky and his Central City team there, and it was something. And I tell you what, Corky held his own, but the main thing, your team won that night, Corky.
Yeah, we beat Wayland by 8 points. Kelly was quite a player. Kelly got 40 and I got 40.
That's right.
It was a tie game there. So,
but it was played on December the 24th, 1955, and it was a sellout. People waited in line. They started that afternoon to get in to see the marquee game of the state. Two best players in the state that year were Kelly Coleman and Corky Withrow. And as I said in my book, it could have just as easily been King Corky. Because this guy, and there were so many similarities between Wayland. Both were coal towns, coal mining towns, and the fact that they were represented the east and west part of the state and everything, it was just a classic. And this guy sitting with us right here was a high school All-American, and I'm going to tell you right now, he's one of the greatest athletes to ever play in the history of Kentucky.
Absolutely.
Not only was he a fantastic basketball player, but he was an equally good baseball player.
See, I came up at the same time. I knew of Corky Withrow really well. But I never did get to play against him.
I would have loved to have seen you one-on-one against Corky and just to see what you could put because you were a defensive stopper.
Yeah.
You had a game, of course, in '56. There was another pretty good scorer hanging around the country, and there's a lot of talk about which one of you were the best. And frankly, the bottom line was you were two tremendous basketball players, no doubt about that, with two excellent ball clubs and two good coaches. You all had a memorable game here in Central City, and tell us a little bit about that December 1955 game that you had with Kelly Coleman and his Wayland Wasp.
Well, I think it all started down at the pool hall. I think that's where I met Kelly Coleman and Kelly Coleman met me, but we didn't speak. You know, we knew who each other was. You know, we shooting arrows, darts. I looked at him, he looked at me. It's like, I know who you are, brother. And the game itself had a lot of hype, naturally. And I was telling you before, they had chicken boxes. People had them, they'd lined up all the way down there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon trying to get in. That's why I was looking for the scorebook. I think I had Kelly outscored pretty much up until, I'm saying the last quarter or so, when he got hot, and we finished up with 40 points apiece. But we won the ball game, and it was a tremendous ball. He's a tremendous player, don't get me wrong.
You all were about the same size. I've seen Kelly now, and I'm going to say that, what did you play at, 6'5"?
No, 6'4".
6'4", and Kelly was about 6'4", so I'm going to say you all were about the same size ball player. Did you all guard each other in that game?
No,
Okay.
no. Carl Ray Jameson guarded Kelly, and I don't remember who guarded me. I have no idea.
Kelly played out
There wasn't a whole lot of guarding going on, I don't think.
Kelly played out front.
Yeah, Kelly was, well, he was the whole show, let's face it. You know, see, the difference between Central City and Wayland, Central City had a history of years and years and years. Wayland had a 2-year history. You know what I mean? And Mr. Gish always believed in preparing for the future, and that suited me because that's where I came along.
That's right.
He was preparing for the future, and the philosophy was wonderful because we won more games than anybody.
Corky, obviously you were a great baseball player and basketball player. Did you ever have a favorite of those, or did you just enjoy them both the same? What was your...
Well, growing up, basketball was the thing. You know, baseball, I liked baseball, and we had some pretty good teams. We went, state tournament in 1955, but basketball always took first place until my senior year, and I think the Car Creek loss.
Car Creek, Central City, and Wayland all had tremendous players and coaches in ball clubs, and all were certainly capable of winning the state tournament. And I could see having, of course, this was the 3rd straight year that you guys had gone to the state tournament. You had a lot of seniors on there. You knew that you weren't going to have that opportunity.
It was done.
Had to hurt a lot.
As far as I was concerned, you know, we had the best team in the state of Kentucky. If they had outplayed us, then I wouldn't have, I guess I could have forgotten it, but probably did more to hurt me in my lifetime, Charlie, than any one thing that ever happened to me. I really haven't gotten over it, if you want to know the truth about it. I don't think there's a day that goes by in my life that I don't remember Car Creek. At the end of the season, we played Kentucky, Ohio, All-Star game. In Bowling Green, in Diddle Country, Ed was there. In that particular game, I got 28 points. Roger Newber got 28 rebounds. So they give me the stars, whatever you want to call it. And we played the Kentucky, West Virginia All-Stars, which Jerry West was on. We beat them, and I got a piece of luggage out of that. And we played Ohio All-Stars in Middletown again. We beat them up there, and I got a watch up there. I still got it.
Corky, you played in the North-South All-Star games also.
Yeah, the last one, right, yeah. I thought, well, maybe I'll go to the University of Kentucky. I'd signed a grand aid with the University of Kentucky in 1955. I guess he made a dozen trips down here. He'd be at the ballpark. You know, we'd be down there practicing or playing a game. There'd be Adolph Rupp sitting up in the stands, but it didn't work out, so.
Well, when you signed the baseball contract,
Yeah.
you were the first player signed in the UK in 1956.
Right. But once I became a professional, I signed a baseball contract. Then you couldn't play. Now you can, if you can't play that particular sport. Bob Davis from Georgetown came down and recruited me, and I went to Georgetown for a couple of years. Got ruled ineligible at Georgetown after 2 years, so baseball, I guess, was where I had more fun.
I've got a story I have to tell on the radio, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. In 1956, my brother, Roy, which retired as superintendent of Barron County Schools, he was coaching at Hugheskirk, and I was playing at Central City, and we're living in the same house. Hugheskirk comes to Central City to play us, and we had a good ball club, and I got 51 points against my brother, and we beat them 110 to 50-something. Well, anyway, the irony of the story is I go home that night, and it's a sad house.
No kidding.
It's sad. So my mother, which is about 5 foot, maybe 4'11", and weighs less than 100 pounds, she told me, she said, this is never going to happen again. Not as long as you two live together. So she said, you tell Mr. Gish when you go to Hugheskirk that you can beat him, but you're not going to do that to your brother. So we go to Hugheskirk, and Hugheskirk had a little wall up, about as high as this table, maybe 4 foot high. But anyway, she sat right behind that little wall over there. And they'd throw me the ball, and I'd take the ball, and I'd look at it, and I'd look at her. If she shook her head yes, I'd go ahead and score. If she said no, I'd have to throw it back out. Her nickname was Lightning, so anyway.
1961, I was in spring training in Riverside, California, and I got this telephone call from Chuck Taylor, Converse shoe man. He asked me, he said, will you play basketball if we draft you in Philadelphia? I said, yeah, I'll come to training. So anyway, the Warriors drafted me the 4th round pick, and but I went ahead and went to Austin, Texas that year, the end of a 12-day road trip in Mexico. On the last day there, Sunday afternoon, never forget it, hit a line drive down the left field line. I caught the ball, my last step hits the bottom of a concrete where they had a chain link fence. It was set in concrete. It was about that high out of the ground. And I hit my toes just like that. And my spike was sticking straight up in there. I looked down at it, I said, something's wrong here. My spike shouldn't, it was just sticking straight up. I took my shoe off, there my toes sticking straight up in there. I done knocked all my toes out of joint. Called timeout. I was in a place called Poza Rica, Mexico. And not to be nasty, but if they ever give Mexico an intimate, I know where they're going to stick it. So I go to the hospital. First thing I see is 3 redneck buzzards eating out of the garbage can. This don't look good. So I go inside, and the doctor says, we ain't got any anesthetic. You're going to have to bite a sheet. Oh, Lord. So he's setting my foot while I'm biting the sheet. Then from Poza Rica, Mexico to Austin, Texas, it's 37 hours by bus. I thought I was going to die, but I did go to Hershey, Pennsylvania with the Philadelphia. And believe it or not, Wilt Chamberlain took a liking to me. And Wilt had this Cadillac convertible. He'd pick me up in the morning, take me to practice, take me out, feed me after. For 2 weeks that went on. I mean, they had Tom Gola, Guy Rogers, and all these guys. And, I was having a ball. I was running around with Wilt Chamberlain. Finally, I'd had enough of it. My foot hurt. So I told the coach, I'm going home. I've done played baseball all year. And I was not full speed and
Certainly weren't in basketball shape.
no, I wasn't. No.
One of the things we haven't mentioned about Corky, he had a short stint with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Played a little professional baseball.
One day in Wrigley Field, I went in to replace Stan Musial in the 5th inning. That was my claim to fame, but...
Did you get booed?
Oh, let me tell you. I walked out there, and here come half-eaten hot dogs, pop, ice. They had to call the game for about 10 minutes to clean the field off. So they said they came to see Stan Musial. They didn't know me.
Corky, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending time with us.
1963. I was in the Pacific Coast League. I was with Denver, and we were going to Dallas for 2 games. It was on a Saturday. We was going to play 1 game Saturday night, stay all night, play 1 game on Sunday, fly back to Denver. So all I took was a change of underwear and my shaving kit. Well, we get to bed about 2 or 2:30. About 6:30, the phone rings. There's a manager named Jack Ty, never forget it. He said, Corky, you're going to meet, you've been bought by the St. Louis Cardinals and you're going to be in Pittsburgh this evening. Well, anyway, I take my shaving kit and my dirty underwear, that's all I got. Get on an airplane. And I flew all day long, all day. I finally got to Pittsburgh around 8:30. And they're playing a doubleheader now. They done won the first ball game. So I finally get to Forbes Field. And I go in there and they got my uniform on, you know, Withrow, St. Louis Cardinal uniform. Gosh, don't get much better than that. So I run out on the field, you know, real. And I sat down on the end of the bench like this. And I ain't looking around nobody, so I'm sitting there still. You know, the first guy comes up to me is Stan Musial. I'm Stan Musial. I believe I know who you are, Mr. Musial. Kenny Boyer, Bob Gibson, you know. So anyway, I'm sitting there. Johnny Keane says, I want you to pinch hit that pitcher. And they said, when he comes to play, I said, my God, I just got here. So they had a big pitcher named Bob Veal, 6'7", throwed BBs. So I walk out there, Smokey Burgess back there catching, you know, and I'm walking up there, and bam! First pitch, I said, my God, what was that? The umpire said, strike 1. So in my mind, I thought, you know, Dizzy Dean said this one time. I turned around, Smokey Burgess, and I said, that sounded high. I don't know why I said it. Why I said that, I don't know. Smokey Burgess come out there, he was laughing, and the umpire was laughing. I finally got back in. I fouled off several pitches, and finally, I done zeroed in on his fastball, see? Then he throws a curveball, and I almost fall on my face getting down there, but that was quite an experience for me.
That was your first at bat?
That first at bat, and the first pitch I ever saw, if it'd been in my head, I'd been dead right now, because I ain't seen it yet. And that thing, oh my God, what was that? You know, I thought it was a jet plane.
But now, that was 1963.
Yeah.
1963. This is Mr. Jackie Day, who's a former assistant coach, head coach, basketball, baseball, then became principal and superintendent. And we're delighted to have Jackie join us. And you had a pretty good athlete here. Which sport do you think he was actually the best in? You saw him play in both, and you coached him in both.
Yes, sir. Well, he was good in both, but I thought his main sport was basketball. Well, baseball-wise, the 55 team, we went to the state tournament. Corky was our big hitter and pitched a little bit and played shortstop. So every key position, well, we put him in some time or other. When we had a game, well, the scouts would sit in front and both sides and behind Corky. They was talking to him pretty well. They could put out a lot of recruiting there during that period of time. So
I've had one idol in my life, one person that I wanted to be like, and that's Mickey Mantle. You know, I grew up a Mickey Mantle fan, and his style of play, and I tried to emulate him any way I could, the way I run, the way I bat, but I met the man in an exhibition game down in Florida. You know, that may have been the thrill of my life, but to think that you lay up in bed as a 12 or 13-year-old and listen to Harry Carey, Gus Van Cuso call the baseball Cardinals, Stan Musial, all these guys, you know. And then to walk out and sit on the bench and have that guy that you used to listen to when you were 12 or 13 years old come up and stick his hand out and say, I'm Stan Musial. That was exciting. Well, let's see. Stan Musial, Bob Gibson, Bill White, Dick Grote, Eddie Matthews, Henry Aaron, Lou Burdette. You could go on and on.
A lot of Hall of Famers.
Oh, yeah. All these guys, but these are my friends, you know. These are my long-lasting friends.
Well, one thing about it, though, you've had some great experiences, both, even though it wasn't a long time in the pro basketball punch, you still was able to be there, be associated with some of the pro teams, and then having a chance to play with the Cardinals in '63 when they had a great ball club.
Yeah.
And that ball club then went on to win some championships too. So
64, they won.
64, that's right. That was, you were with the core group there, so no doubt about that.
I loved every minute of it. And God has been good to me, and I've been married to the same woman for 46 years. I think she's going into sainthood in another year or two.
What's been an accomplishment that you're the most proud of other than your sports? And I might think that it might be being married to the same woman for 47 years. That might be a pretty good accomplishment in itself.
Hey, I'd say that having I've had 2 children, a boy and a girl. I've had 5 grandchildren and a great-grandson. And I just recently lost my father. So I guess
Lightning's still with us.
Lightning's still there, and man don't make her mad now. she won't let me go out and play. I guess that's it. And making lifelong friends.